being in a position where you're unemployed can feel very shitty, but I think it also can give you, like, what you're doing is giving yourself an opportunity to like figure it out and do it in a way that's really thoughtful and really healthy versus just like, shit, I better find another shitty job because that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right, right? A podcast for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in. Hello, friends. Hello, pod people. Welcome back to We're Doing This Right, right? Hi, Colleen.
Welcome. Hi.
Hi, Adrienne. Adrienne,
Hi.
say your last name because it feels like it should be Brabant. Is that correct?
That feels right. Yes, it's Brabant.
Okay.
Oh,
Adrienne Brabant is with us. So Adrienne is from Mountain View, California originally, and she was there pursuing a passion for event management. Well, she went to Cal Poly here down in San Luis Obispo, which is where we met. She specialized her focus on special event management. During college, she interned at Hospice de Rhone, a wine festival that still she helps out with every year. In 2011, she landed her dream job at Eventbrite in San Francisco, spending 11 years there in various roles from customer experience to HR. After a stint as chief of staff at a small startup, she's now focused on developing and scaling operations for local businesses. Outside of work, Adrienne loves exploring the Central Coast with friends and her cute dog and works at a wine bar for fun, which I love to frequent. Welcome, Adrienne.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
You too.
So we asked Adrienne to come because Adrienne found herself unemployed after all of that amazing work experience. And I think that looked different than she expected and what that job market looks like and the feelings that are part of becoming unemployed. And so we just wanted to have her here to kind of talk through what that looked like for her.
We've talked a lot about the evolution of women's careers, especially people who are in entrepreneurship. So I think this is like a really poignant piece of that, because in that path, we talk a lot about gaps. And I think sometimes we talk about gaps and people assume that means you've had a child or something. But there are gaps in careers for lots of reasons, sometimes because you need to find a new one. So I think that this is a great conversation for us to have, to really like normalize this, talk about this, because you kind of touched about just in talking previously, like the grief of losing a job. And I'm sure there's lots of feelings and maybe shame feelings or maybe, whatever those things are. Talk to us about, like, you don't have to tell us why you don't have that job didn't happen anymore. But like, so, okay, you don't have the job anymore. Now what? Like, walk us through that story.
Yeah, 2023 is probably the most humbling year of my life. I've never felt more like I lost sort of my identity and had to rebuild it. And so a lot of people say this to me when they leave companies, especially in tech, that they really do lose their sense of self and realize how much their ego is tied to what they do. And I always thought that I wasn't one of those people, but I certainly was one of those people. And so I take a lot of pride in what I do. And I think I'm a very high performing individual. So it's very difficult for me to be in an environment where the market is really difficult because everyone is being laid off in tech and there are tons of people looking for work and not a lot of work. Tech companies are really tightening their belts this last year in preparation for the recession, and the impact was huge. And so for me, it was feeling like this total, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And also there's not a lot of hope for getting another really great job. I kind of, with that chief of staff position, I finally was in this role that I felt like really suited my skill set, but I didn't feel like I had enough experience in it to successfully interview for that next chief of staff role, because people are looking for very senior people. So I would have wanted to have a much greater tenure at my company before searching for that next job. And so there's a lot of you can probably hear me talking, self-doubt and can I even apply for? Would they even talk to me? And then there's so much networking that needs to be involved. The fact that I even left Eventbrite after 11 years was largely because of my network,
Mm.
and I got an opportunity. And so these things, I sort of live my life by stopping. I hate trying to force things to happen, and I like to look and pay attention to what doors are opening and kind of walk through those doors. And it has felt a lot like I am pushing and forcing, trying to get this like next job versus reflecting and focusing and figuring out, like kind of like living and being happy and seeing what doors open, because I am so conditioned to be making and providing and serving. And so with all of that, I can say the identity has crumbled, but also been rebuilt. I've liked to say that all of the toxic things in my life sort of left in 2023, and I'm sort of priming myself for the really great, healthy dynamics at work, relationships, everything in 2024. So I'm kind of embracing that mindset. And I'm also telling myself, what's meant for me will happen. Like, I'm not going to force the wrong opportunity, and the right one will just feel right. And to keep your head up and your eyes open. But in first leaving the job, it was a huge, I don't know if you all know the 5 stages of grief, but I teach that a lot. I've been doing learning and development for a long time in work. So I teach the change curve, which is essentially the same thing as the 5 stages of, I found myself in very much in denial, and I was super angry, and then I was bargaining, and then I was depressed, and I was just sort of like going between these stages of the stages of grief, until I think finally, after probably about 6 to 8 months, I got to this place of acceptance. And it was then that I started to, instead of just live in this fear and anxiety spot and spiral, I was like, okay, like my life can go on. I can do other things. I can depart from the thinking that I need like success as working at a really great tech company. It could be contributing to your community or doing something on a smaller scale. And so I've been working to design my life to make that work and kind of bide time, and for me to figure out what that next thing really is going to be, that's going to be really fulfilling for me.
I love
Can
the
you
design my life. That is such a good message for anybody that finds himself in a moment of change or needing a moment of change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that's, Cheryl and I's kind of whole thing is like design the life that you want, live the life that that makes you happy, and defining success how you want to define success, not how society or somebody else has decided what success looks like. But I wanted you to talk to us about like that grief period for you. You said was like 6 to 8 months, right? During that time, are you working? Did you find another, like, are you doing part-time? Like, what's happening while
Logistically.
logistically? Like, how are we keeping the lights on during that time? Like, what does that look like? Because I think that's the part where it's like you have these gaps, but like, I mean, my question is like, okay, well, how would I pay my bills? Like, how does that, what you talked about?
Yeah, that's where a lot of the fear.
Yeah, like how do we get scrappy about
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah. So that's where a lot of the fear sets in of what I always said, I was living something mindset. It's like when you a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
I felt like I very strongly that I was living from this place of scarcity and trying to figure out how to stop that. Because when you're doing that, you're obviously not like innovating, and you're not like, you could be innovating because you have to, because you don't have much, but like not really being
You're not
intentional,
in
I think,
growth
as much as what you
mindset. You're
want.
not in abundance mindset. Yeah, you're
Exactly. You're like, oh my God, how do I survive? So survival mindset was real for me. And so to do that, there are a couple things that happened that got me positioned, that I was very fortunate, which was I bought a house in 2020, which like all the stars aligned. I was really fortunate to work at a great company that went public. So I had money for a down payment. I got in right before the market went crazy and COVID hit. And so I got under offered on my house and ended up getting it. And like, to say, paint a picture, that just doesn't happen right now. And
Yeah.
so there's some life things that lined up for me to be positioned really well. Another thing is, with this house, I really wanted to remodel the kitchen, and I decided, you know what, I just didn't feel right. I just something about it, because I knew I would blow all my savings in order to remodel this kitchen. And so I just waited. And so at the time where now I'm faced with not having a job rather than having zero in my savings account, I had a cushion, which I would
Mm.
recommend to every person in the world to have a no shit fund, because my God, I'm I was always like that, nothing will ever happen to me like that. I'll be fine, but it can, and it could happen to anyone. So as
Wait,
much as you can
I want you to
put
pause there because I
aside.
think there's two really important life skill moments.
Mhm.
One, the importance of owning your own home and doing that as soon as you can, because that is a real asset. And I don't know, you haven't talked about it, but like there's opportunities there where you could have pulled money from your house or things, like the equity in your home. And then
Mhm.
two, the financial part of that, which is having the cushion and putting that money aside. Like those are things that a lot of people
Yeah.
don't do. They don't have that, or they don't feel like capable of that. So how smart of
Yeah.
you to have lined that up for yourself.
I don't know the
Yeah, it's
statistic, but it's very shocking how few people have money in their savings account when
Yeah.
you like it's a really really scary statistic how few people have the oh shit fund. And that's terrifying because
yeah.
so many people wind up where they do, where you are right now. Like
Yeah,
it
and
happened.
right. It does. And I do feel like I'm coming from a huge place of privilege from having the savings, because my life largely felt lucky to that point where I had the savings. I worked at a company that did really well. And so when they went public, I did well, but I could never save money to save my life. It was really difficult paycheck to paycheck to actually build a savings. So I would say my heart goes out to people that are struggling with that, because I certainly do and did as well. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. But yes, so that super helped me because I, you know, had a little bit of breather. Like I wasn't like so afraid. But I also am very like I didn't want to use my savings to float by my life during this like awful time, and because I would have resented that. Created a personal challenge, because ultimately I do want that kitchen remodeled, but I created a personal challenge for myself of how do I make my savings last as long as humanly possible by getting scrappy. And that was sort of what spurred my motivation to think of how to live creatively. And so my friends, somehow someone told me about Furnished Finder, which is where you can find traveling nurses. And I live very near a hospital.
Mm.
And so I was thinking, okay, like I could rent out my rooms to help me with my mortgage and like property taxes, HOA, all that. There's my living expenses. And so I ended up putting up the house, and I have a 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom. So I'm fortunate that people
Mm.
can have their own space really, really easily. So it's not like you're living on top of each other. I had been living alone, and I was finally like, yes, I've made it. I can have my own house. I live alone. This is fantastic. I just figured out how to make enough money to make that work. And so I was really not wanting to go backwards. It felt like a massive step in the wrong direction with where I wanted my life to go. But I will say, I've had now now I'm going on my fourth at the end of February, traveling nurse moving in, and they've just sort of, I've either
Mm.
had one room or both rooms rented, and it's just been so amazing. And it's been really, really helpful for me in making this experience a little bit better.
I have to talk about that because I am such a proponent for making your assets make you money.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so I bought my first place in 2012 and rented out the second bedroom the entire time. And then when Alex and I bought our place together, we continued to rent out the extra bedroom. I mean, we had a lot more bedrooms now, but we rented one of them pretty much the entire time. We always joked we'd taken strays, and we weren't making like loads of money, but we were offsetting our expenses by having somebody else contribute, and we had the space. And then when we were getting ready to get married and have kids, we built on an extra bedroom with like a separate entrance, and that could be closed off from the house but could also be utilized by the house. And that we rented on Airbnb and
Mm.
like would just lock it off. And it was monumental. It was like, okay, we were able to put money in savings. Like that was really great. And then also like the weekends we'd be out traveling and just like living our best life. It's like, well, it's cool. We've got like $500 being deposited in the account this weekend because we're doing nothing. We're making money while we go travel. And
Hmm.
I just really, and it's sacrifices. Like I can't tell you the number of people I've spoken to over the years that are like, ugh, but I don't want somebody in my house. And I'm like, I get it. I
Yeah.
understand that. And sometimes we make sacrifices to like catapult forward. And Alex and I catapulted forward. I catapulted forward from my condo to my house to the property that we own now. And it was because we were willing to make those like kind of uncomfortable choices that a lot of people don't. Even with hosting an au pair, so many people are like, I don't want somebody in my house. I'm like, okay, well, I'm paying a fraction of what you are in childcare to share my house with someone. I already have the space. So just making those conscious choices towards like the direction you want to go. Like in your case, you probably didn't have another option. I'm sure this was huge at like replacing the income you lost. For me, thankfully, it hasn't been that, but it has contributed to our savings account and our oh shit fund for sure.
And I think too, like understanding somebody mentioning something to you, but then putting that into action and like being courageous enough. I don't know if that's like the word, but being courageous enough to like take that and put that into action for like survival purposes, but also like for your life.
Right.
There are so many people in the world who are given really good ideas or ways to help themselves or ways to survive, and they choose not to take them. And so I think that that
Oh,
is like
my dad.
such a credit to you, right? That that is the survival spirit or the prospering spirit at its finest, right? To be able to take that and put it into action so that you can build the life that you want, so you can live the life that you want, even in a really shitty situation. Like that's
Yeah,
setting yourself up for success.
yeah. Yeah, my life has largely felt fairly unchanged, but which is kind of shocking. Like I feel like I'm like maintaining lifestyle, but I haven't like dyed my hair for a year, which I'm like now I'm embracing having my natural hair color. Like, wait, I'm like, grays are starting to come in. So I'm thinking, wait, maybe this is the last time in my life I'm ever gonna have like my beautiful natural brown hair. Why wouldn't I just let that go? And my friend's been cutting my hair, so I'm like very much like taking cuts where I feel like I can and trying to put a positive spin on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also like there's mindset to that too, right? Like and viewpoint and framing. And there's a lot of this that could have been like, this fucking sucks. And I am going
Mm.
to sleep and lay in my sweatpants for 6 to 8 months. That was my question, right? It's like there is this grieving process, and that doesn't mean you're not feeling shitty. It doesn't mean that you're not grieving. It doesn't mean that you don't feel the loss of this identity or this career, but it also is like, but you still have to like do the things every day, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can talk about what I did because I did want to just lay in bed, but I know that there's so many resources out there, speaking of podcasts and things that you can listen to kind of help motivate you. And so I think actually my friend Summer, who Cheryl, or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, the like only thing I knew I could, I have a dog, and I was like, I gotta walk my dog, so I'm gonna get up in the mornings. That's a healthy-ish feeling habit, and I'm gonna walk him. And so as I was walking him there's this really, really beautiful bike trail near my house, which I feel really fortunate to have. Mel Robbins, I would listen to her and be like, what's the deal with this lady? Anyway, I heard her talking about like the perfect morning routine or the good nighttime routine, kind of set your life up. And so I started trying to implement some of those things to just motivate myself and kind of get into my creative and think a little bit more outside of the box. And so it was largely like when you wake up in the morning, don't look at your phone, which is hard, but actually really great when you can do it. Then give yourself a high five in your mirror and then like set your intention for the day and like and so I would be like, I would do that, and then they would say, get outside, do something physical, but get sun on your skin. Everyone's saying, get sun on your skin first thing in the morning, and so I would go on a walk and then come back and like challenge your mind, and I would journal. And so through the journaling, I started thinking of like, what do I want? And I think trying to figure out what I want has, I think, across my life has been one of the most difficult things because I'm sort of like a servant type person where I'm like, where am I needed? How can I help? Not like, what do I want and how do I go for the thing that I want the most? And so that's been hugely challenging, but I found that that was really helpful to get me focused and clear my head and think about what I do want. And that was a big thing, like those stages of grief for sure was like
Honestly,
prioritizing myself
this
and
picture you're
well-being.
painting of the life sounds
I'm like,
like this is
sounds
my
so
slow
good.
morning routine that I really would love to have. Like to get up, sun on your skin and get outside and journal. Like that's my dream, Adrienne. I don't ever take the time to do that. And you know what, you guys, I'm fucking worthy of taking the time to do that for myself. Credit Despy Mays on that one.
Yes.
I need to make these shifts and do this
Yeah.
sort of thing for myself. It sounds like anybody at any stage of life, working, not working, this is like what we all should be doing. But then we get in that cycle of like, not rise and grind, because what you're describing isn't rise and grind, but it's like the things we should be doing, that like then we feel shame when we're not doing it. I'm thinking out loud, I'm spinning through this, but God, it sounds glorious what your mornings look like.
It's had to shift for me. This was actually okay. So kind of big picture thinking. I used to wake up every morning and get on my computer. And I literally lived, breathed, whatever work. I wouldn't come up for air until 5 p.m. And I just was a friggin' hyper achiever. And that was like, I completely prioritized my work. And so a shift has been to prioritize myself, because like, what work am I going to prioritize right now? you know? And so it has now become something I look forward to and want to do, which was something that's been like a lifelong journey for me, is how do I flip the script from like, you should be going outside and doing this thing for yourself because like that's what you should be doing, versus like, oh, I get to go do that, and like I get to walk my dog, and like I like being in the crisp cold air, and I like walking to coffee, and I enjoy that activity, which my whole life has been spent like completely, again, not knowing what I want, but doing what other people tell me I should be doing. And so that was a really great transition for me. And even now, I found I've always had a struggle with like going to the gym, because for me it was associated with like weight loss and trying to look a certain way. And it was never a thing that was like, hey, do this because you enjoyed what you're doing. And I will say I've been going to Kismet, Cheryl, and I'm obsessed.
Shout
and
out
it's like,
Brittany Pomfret at Kismet, San Luis Obispo.
I know. And it couldn't be the worst time of a class possible. No offense, Brittany, but like it's at 4:30 every day, which happy hour has got to get in the way, or life, But I'm like, no, forget it. I'm going. Like the other day I was at happy hour and I left for an hour and came back, and I was like, I'll pop out and come right back. And it's like so accessible and fun that I just don't even think about it. So those are pretty big wins, I would say, for me in this experience, is finding something that I love to do for myself and like showing up to do it.
And Cheryl's talked about this before too. Like sometimes you need those times of quiet, or those times where there's nothing to do, to really like refocus and reset and like kind of get your, like do the journaling or do whatever it is to ask yourself those questions. What do I want to do? How do I want to serve? Who do I want to serve? Maybe I should be serving myself. Like maybe this is the time where I should start like putting myself first instead of others. When we're in this 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. constantly on the computer, constantly working, constantly doing, you don't have those moments to be creative, to think, to innovate, all of that stuff. So being in a position where you're unemployed can feel very shitty, but I think it also can give you, like, what you're doing is giving yourself an opportunity to like figure it out and do it in a way that's really thoughtful and really healthy, versus just like, shit, I better find another shitty job because that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
I will say, for everything I have on the back end, like I have been doing a bunch to try and figure out what that next job is going to be.
Yeah.
And I've been applying for a ton of jobs that would be that same exact experience that I had before. And that's not working. Like I'm not getting the jobs. And I can't help but think, I mean, that's really humbling as well, because you like go from this like hyper performer at a company to not being able to even get a job. And so we can probably talk about interviewing, because that's really terrible. But then also just like what cues do you pay attention to in life that help you figure out when you're on the right, like on, I don't want to say right, but a path that you kind of should pursue following.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm currently struggling with, because I can also talk about things that I am doing. I am working locally in the community doing things, and I'm also applying for jobs that would be kind of going to what I was doing before. But certain things are sticking and certain things aren't. And I'm curious in where that will lead me, because I'm still not very sure.
This is our second guest of the year that's curious about what's going to happen this year.
Yes. Like now you've been doing all this like applying, are you applying for you're applying for similar jobs, and in that process when you're not getting where you want to go, or maybe whatever, are you feeling like you still want to do that, or do you feel like maybe like, oh, maybe I should pivot? Like what happens during that process?
I feel a lot of desire to pivot.
Okay.
Well, so this is where I'm kind of talking about this like theme in my life where I go where people need help or need it. And so I felt like my career sort of went in a direction that was not necessarily what I would have chosen, but one where I got called to go. And so I was at Eventbrite and I was working in the customer support org. And I didn't necessarily want to do customer support forever, but I had kind of grown out of that position and was working on this in this really cool role doing more product operations and voice of the customer, where I got to advocate for feature requests and things like that based on customer contact. I thought it was like the coolest job. However, sort of kind of felt like I reached the peak in that role. And at the time, I had worked for a new leader who was in learning and development. And he was just like a most incredible person I'd ever worked with. And he's a great friend of mine today, but he had open headcount to switch gears and go to his team. And so I did. And totally took a leap of faith, went into a completely different career, and one that I wasn't sure if that was, I had no idea if I wanted to do that, but it was like a cool opportunity. And I knew I wanted to learn from this person. And so after I switched gears and went to his team, I did really enjoy what I was doing, but he ended up leaving after 8 months. And so now I was in this job that I didn't know if that was what I wanted to be doing for the rest of my life, or not, even for the foreseeable future. And the leader that I wanted to work for was gone. And so that was a huge life lesson to anyone who's considering taking a job for a manager, but isn't sure of the work. Like, do not do that. Really think about, is that the role you want to be doing? And is that work going to ignite you and light you up? Ultimately, what's really interesting is in learning development, we talk a lot about psychology and, human behavior. And I'm incredibly fascinated about that in my personal life. I just love understanding how people tick and what motivates them. And so it's this field that I'm very interested in, but I'm not someone who likes to get in front of a classroom and teach and facilitate workshops. But a huge part of learning and development is doing that body of work. And so long story long is those are the types of roles that, like, those are the types of things that I'm equipped to do on my resume. If you look at my resume, you'd say, oh, she could do learning and development. This would be a no-brainer. But I don't know the role that I want. I'm much more operational in nature. I love to design incredible programs and be like the person behind the screen, kind of developing employee programs that make businesses have a great place to work. And so I do think I need to kind of shift the things. Like I think there's a lot behind updating your resume to be catered towards the job that you want. But I am also like, when you get opportunities, it's really difficult to get an interview. And so what I've been doing is going to my network and saying, hey, like, do you know anyone who's known anyone who's like could be hiring? And so I get these opportunities that largely have been L&D roles. And I'm like, okay, is this coming to me because this is what I should be doing? Or is this coming to me because that's just like, there's like these huge questions. So I keep going for these roles and it not landing. And I'm like, can't help but wonder, okay, is that just a completely the wrong role? Do I need to work on my interview skills? Like, what is going on? And so there's a huge, I think, open question for me in that area right now that I'm trying to work through.
When you're applying for these, Adrienne, I heard this statistic one time, or I don't know, somebody said it, but it's like,
she made it up.
I made it up. Women will look at a list of job requirements, check every single one of those job requirements. They won't apply. But men will look at a list of requirements, and if they check 2, they'll just apply. Like, I feel like that is so interesting. Like, do you feel like you're going after stuff, or do you feel like you're having to be like perfect for these jobs? I will admittedly say I haven't applied formally for a job. I mean, I've run my own business since 2018. And prior to that, I worked at the same place for a long time. So like, I don't know. Like, is that part of the process when you're looking for jobs?
You definitely want to look at the qualifications and see if it aligns to your skill set, because they're going to ask you about it when you're interviewing. So you either have to go to fake it till you make it, which I'm not good at. I'm not a good liar. I'm not good at like embellishing my career experiences, which maybe that could be something that other people might feel more comfortable with. I'm sure there's personality types that have no problem doing that. But no, I certainly I've applied for things that I'm grossly underqualified for because I'm like, you miss all the shots you don't take.
Yeah, because I just feel like these dudes, these bros be out here like applying for jobs that are like way underqualified for, but they're getting them, right? Because maybe they're confident enough, or maybe I don't know, or
Hmm.
they know the right bro.
Well, they've got to be able to, yeah, they know the right people. Yeah, that helps too. But I've had like very, very warm, very good references and not gotten jobs, which has been really, which is fine. But I'm like, oh my God, like something is definitely wrong. So my mentor was like, okay, I think we need to do some mock interviews because something is not clicking. And I was like, okay, which kind of made me lose confidence because I do believe the right job will just inherently and the right opportunity, it will just fit. It doesn't matter how much I practice my STAR questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you drive for the right people and you're applying for the right thing, kind of kids, like it should just work. And so I'm kind of between this like strengthen the interview skill set and accept that like the right job will come and it will match. It might not be what you think it is,
Or maybe you need to
it might look differently.
start your own business.
Colleen and I are just over
I
here
know.
doing the same thing. Like, come on, Adrienne, just jump over here with us. Be an
I know.
entrepreneur.
I just like
I know.
I
Well,
was
trust.
in today in my Inspire Her collective group here in Indy. Somebody asked like, well, how do I find these networking groups? I can't find them. And I just said, if you can't find it, you create it. I don't know. Maybe the stars are aligning for you, Adrienne. Like if you can't find what you're doing, maybe you need to create it. Like I'm over here like
I
texting
know.
Cheryl on the side, like, should she be like is there an opportunity? Like what I think there's such, and everybody's wired differently, right? Like, but my brain is like, oh, okay, then like we should just figure out what your next company should be. you know?
Oh, totally. So I will say we can navigate towards talking about what I have been doing
Yeah.
because it is largely related to consulting and thinking about how to work. I mean, start my own thing. And that's been really fun. It's been there's so much I would love to learn from you both in being entrepreneurs and owning your own businesses because the departure for me in having a steady paycheck and insurance is so scary.
Sure.
It's hard to mentally commit to, especially when you don't have a product per se and clients who want to buy your service. So
Yeah.
I have just been taking this approach of like, I'm just going to do stuff. And I'm doing a lot of stuff right now and see what kind of story I can form based off of the things I've been doing. So, for example, leaving tech, I was like, I just don't want to work remote anymore. I've been remote since 2017, sitting at my computer, grinding. And I live in this beautiful place that has an incredible community. And I was like, I just want to like be around people again and like give back to the community. And so I talked to my friend and I told her this and she said, oh, well, my husband might be hiring for, you need some help. He's growing his business. And so I've been working for a local mobile vet clinic to help them with their operations. And I've done some really cool stuff with them. They're kind of a startup in a way. And so it's been really cool to take my knowledge and skill set and apply it to the things that they're working on and help them kind of grow and expand their business. So
I have to
I've
pause
been
you
I'm doing,
because
yeah.
last week we had to say goodbye to my pup, and this is a mobile vet clinic, and Adrienne and I know a lot of the same people, and so I texted a mutual friend, and this has the wife of the husband she was just talking about, and I was like, hey, I need to know a mobile vet number, so text me, and I made my husband do the call. And he calls me. He's like, the girl that answered the phone knew you. And he kind of described her. I was like, that's Adrienne. I know who that was. But just such a small
I was
town.
shocked. I was like, could you spell your last name? And he was spelling it. And I was like, do I know this person? And then, because his voice didn't sound like Alex. I was not, I did not connect the dot. And then he said, my wife knows the doctor's wife. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll definitely fit you in today. There's no
Well,
problem.
thank you so much because I was like not able to function until it was over.
Oh.
I was like paralyzed. So thank you. And rest in peace, my
I'm
sweet
so
Macy
sorry.
girl. And Dr. Dan is badass. If you're in San Luis Obispo, Dr. Dan is my hero. He cried with us. He explained everything to my daughters. Like it was just like the warmest hug. And so anyways, thank you. So keep going. So you're growing, you're doing things locally. You're like figuring it out based on like tell us more. Cause I see you have the spirit to do this on your own.
You already are an entrepreneur. You're already going into other people's businesses. You're consulting. You're doing this. I'm like, your job could be to go into small businesses and set up the systems for them and get the things like rolling for them, because small business people
Yeah.
need those things and they don't know how to do them because they have a product that they sell or because they're a great baker. Typically means that they don't know how to do these other parts to it. And so
Yeah.
congratulations, you are now a business consultant and we've just created your business for you right here on air. And everybody
Thank you.
contact Adrienne. She is available.
Also, like
Yeah.
at this
Thank you.
moment, what do you have to lose? You already don't have the job. Like you don't have the insurance right now. Like those are the hardest. That's the hardest part about
Yeah.
jumping into your own business. Like when I was leaving my corporate job that I was in for 12 years, it was like, fuck, I'm going to walk away from like paying $400 a month for my entire family's insurance. I'm going to walk away from my matched 401k. I'm going to walk away from my pension. I still have some of my pension. I was vested, you guys, but like I'm walking away from all of these security things to bet on myself. And I had the confidence to bet on myself, but fuck, I do miss those other things, but you already don't have them. So let's go.
I know. Well, so I have been going. That is what I've been doing is I work with a couple different businesses right now and consult and help them with their things I've done. I've helped Summer. I've helped my friend Soraya with her travel company. So I helped Summer automate all of her Compass communications from the time I close a deal to, the next 5 years, which was like, I love automation and scale. And then my friend Soraya opened a travel agency and she needed help launching her kind of client CRM, which with automation and scale, like communications. And then I've been doing the vet, and then I'm working for Hospice Giron right now, again, helping them with their wine festival, and then also helping at the Winer at 15C. So there's a lot of
You have a bit.
things I'm doing right now, and
And you still have time to get up and take your dog for a walk and journal, and you're paying all your bills.
it's been busy.
Okay, well,
I know, I'm like,
Living
for
like
being unemployed, I'm busy.
you're like living everyone's best life.
I think I have my newest member of Inspire Her Slow because you are an entrepreneur and you need to join us. Yeah, we're going to talk about this after. You've got to join us and inspire her. I think that you are like the exact right fit for. So it's that thing that we talked about before. Like, if there's not already what you want in the world, create it. So Colleen and I created
Oh,
Inspire
yeah.
Her Collective, which is like a women's mastermind group that has no financial cost currently to be a part of. It's just us creating a group of women from different industries that come together monthly and help. We grow together by me teaching my skill set, learning from your skill set, and it's been really incredible so far and I'm so excited. World, this will be available nationwide, internationally at some point. We will bring you in on our syndication. We're going to have an
Yeah.
Inspire Her Collective.
Yeah, so we'll just
Now,
turn this into an infomercial now. So Inspire Her Collective National will basically launch, if you will, this week because we have an indie group, we have a Central California group. We will shortly
we're Central Coast, Colleen. I have to teach you. We're the Central Coast. We're not Central California. That's Fresno and Bakersfield, which I love you, Fresno and Bakersfield, but we're in San Luis Obispo County.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. The Central Coast has a membership, and then we're going to be launching in Denver and I think Austin and Philly. So we're going to have a big network of really amazing female entrepreneurs who all want to help each other, who all want to share secrets, who all want to not gatekeep and rise by lifting others. And you're perfect. So welcome, you're in it. Good job. And we love your new business that you just like
Thank you for
unrolled
inviting
here.
me.
So you're no longer unemployed. You are you're an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. Wow, this is so fun. Look what we did.
Amazing.
I just did my
Yeah, you guys were solving all my problems.
through how to do your LLC and file your articles of organization so that you can be official and start collecting money and writing all this shit off. Because
It's so funny. I started a business in 2018 or 17, a property management company. It's still going strong.
yeah.
Oh,
See, you've been doing this
So
for
I've done all the LLC stuff.
wow.
Yeah.
What a fake. You're not even unemployed.
Well, you're
You're
unemployed
Well,
in the best way.
let's just say I'm not making the money that I want to be making yet.
Yeah.
That
Well,
feels.
you will. We all will. Like it's just like it takes time and then it'll be exponential. And incredible. Like talking to you, it's like shocking to hear you were ever fun employed because you're so well spoken, you're so intelligent, you have so much to offer. You're going to be able to help so many more people. So when I left corporate world, and that was a little over 2 years ago now, I now see how held back I was, because now I get to have this creativity be like, oh, I could try that. Oh, I could try that. Oh, I can shine here. Like I can create this. I can do that. I wasn't doing any of this. Like none of my superpowers, the only superpower that got to shine was my people person because I was in sales. So like that was where I got to shine, but I'm so much more than that. And I didn't get to know that by being stifled by working for a company. Now that I work for myself, I just get to be like, this is lighting my soul on fire, and I get to see what it's doing to all those people over there. And now this is lighting my soul on fire, and look at all these people that it's contagious for. And like the universe is really excited about what I'm doing, and I'm excited about what I'm doing, and it's the best. So I think that was a real gift for you, Adrienne, because I see so much in your future.
Oh, thanks. Y'all are making me feel real nice.
Yeah, you're incredible.
If you'd like to be coached by us, we will also be launching coaching at the end of the year, by the way.
Oh, y'all, I'm a certified coach.
There you go.
Love it.
But coaches need coaches. Yeah. Like I just hired a coach. I have two coaches now. So that's just part of it. But
I was more meaning that's a whole other business in of itself.
Yeah.
You can go launch tomorrow.
Can really I'm working on it right now, and I see the benefits of it in my real estate business, and I see the benefits of it in the podcast. I think it just makes you a very well-rounded individual and it opens your eyes to other thoughts and other ideas that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to explore without that certification. But I'm going to coach my whole life, y'all, without any certifications. So,
seriously.
Okay. What else should people know about the experience of going from employed to not employed suddenly? What other things do you think would be helpful for?
Oh, I would just say, if you have a job and you're feeling good about it, just update your resume. I can't tell you how low I felt when I was suddenly unemployed and I did not have a resume. Because even for the new job I got, people don't really look at it when you're good in networking connections.
Yeah.
So, but to apply for a job that I wanted, then I had to go sit and focus and write this whole thing about what I've been doing at a job that I did not want to talk about. It was very challenging. And so I would just say, write it, take the 20 minutes and have people read it, help you update it. ChatGPT is also really great for helping with resumes and things like that. So how to word things. So get organized, get your shit fun, have an updated resume at all times. I'd say just always have that plan B kind of ready in case something happens.
I feel like we've learned some really important life skills in this conversation. One, you should buy a house as soon as you can. Two, you should have some sort of, you call it a no shit fund, some sort of savings fund, some sort of emergency fund. And it's got to be more than $1,000. I think there's Dave Ramsey tells you to put $1,000 in it. $1,000 is going to pay my bills for a month.
That's baby step. That's the baby step. His big thing is 6 months of income or 6 months of expenses put away.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's more than $1,000. I guess is the point. And update your resume. Keep your resume updated because new opportunities and new things. But then also I really am taking away from this that having the space and the time to think and process and search and find is really, really where the magic happens. It's really where you have the opportunity.
Yeah, and I've just been saying yes to the things that feel like they're flowing well. And for example, working for the vet, I could have said no because I was oh, I need to make this much money. But I'm no, I'm not going to use money as a constraint. I'm going to do the work, get the experience, and see kind of where that takes me. And that's really the grit and scrappiness of it is I think you have to say yes to the things that are coming and feel right and go for it, even if it's not really how you thought it was going to look.
Yeah. Be flexible.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is all part of our attention to reality. We've talked about crowdsourcing. We've talked about pivoting and being flexible. Love it. Okay, Adrienne, where can people be connected with you? Do you want to connect with people? What do you want?
What if somebody's out there?
Yeah, I want to talk to everyone.
They want to hire you immediately. Where should they contact you?
My email is an easy way. It's my first and last name at gmail.com.
Perfect.
If there's Adrienne Brabant at gmail.com. There's also Instagram, ADRIBRA, Adri Bra.
Okay.
Perfect.
Message me, slide into my DMs.
Yes.
I will. The Inspire Her information because you're joining me. I'm so excited.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got recruited. See, this was the best job interview I've had in months.
You're hired. It doesn't pay and you have to buy your own lunch every meeting, but
oh my God, that's how most of my jobs have been going. So par for the course.
It will pay in dividends down the road with what you learn from the incredible women that are part of it. And and then it'll pay me because I'll learn from you.
Absolutely.
So,
I love it.
From each other.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's a vulnerable topic.
Yeah.
And you brought a lot of light,
Yeah.
laughter to it. And I love that. So.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry for the Wi-Fi issues.
It's fine. I'll just cut it all out. You guys, Adrienne is to blame if it's choppy in the editing because we had some Wi-Fi snafus along the way.
That's
Adrienne wins the award for most freezes. More than, like, I think your Wi-Fi is worse than Colleen's, and Colleen's is generally terrible. So it's cool. This is a shout out to Elon Musk and Starlink because mine is always great and I live in the middle of nowhere. We are sponsored by Starlink. Thank you, Elon. I will send the affiliate code out in our show notes.
Yeah. Send me a Tesla.
I'll take my Tesla whenever you're ready. Or my Tesla battery wall. I want one of those here out in the middle of nowhere.
Ooh.
Okay. I digress.
All right.
For coming, guys. We'll talk to you. That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.